Wow, what a harrowing personal experience. What that terribly crude and poorly illustrated animation just depicted was a personal experience of mine from childhood, and it clearly proves that men face a double standard and are systematically oppressed by women, right? Of course, because that's my personal experience, and I'm sure that many out there have had the exact same one. Now, if only there were a way I could find to prove to all the feminists out there that men are the ones being oppressed. I mean, logic hasn't worked. Statistics have failed. I guess I'll have to go back to the only form of argument they understand, the personal experience. Oh man, I remember those days. We were both so excited, applying for colleges and planning out our future. It was all going to be so grand. But then, we started receiving acceptance letters from the colleges we applied to. I remember being so hurt and confused and scared. My sister was getting accepted into some of the colleges that rejected me. We had practically turned in the exact same application. I couldn't believe that my goddamn penis was going to hold me back. It was all so unfair. How could my gender be a factor in the selection process? My sister assured me that it would all be okay. We selected the same college and set out to apply for scholarships, because that shit wasn't cheap. I remember waiting and waiting to learn about our scholarships. When our scholarship application letters finally came back, we were both so nervous. School was going to be expensive, and we needed all the help we could get. Once again, I was dismayed. Not only had my sister received several scholarships that I'd been turned down for, she'd also received some that I hadn't even been able to apply for. Of course I was happy for her, but I was very upset too. She didn't seem to realize all the doors that her vagina was opening for her. While attending school, I had to pick up a small part-time job to make up for the difference in scholarship funds. But fortunately, my sister and I were both able to pass all of our classes with flying colors, and we graduated with the exact same GPA. It was almost spooky how identical our education credentials were while we started shopping around for jobs. Coincidentally, we were both called in for final interviews at the same company on the same day. Who could imagine? Unfortunately for me, my sister got the job. After she left to call her parents and tell them the good news, I asked the employer, "Why did you hire her instead of me? We have identical credentials, but I have more work experience from my part-time job during college." "Well," he replied, "it's not about credentials. I have a quota to meet, so we're hiring women instead of men. I'm sure you'll have better luck next time." Once again, my goddamn testes had gotten in the way. If only I had some sort of male privilege to help me get along in this brave new world of feminism. Now, feminists, as my personal experience clearly prove, we live in a female-dominated society and we should all start fighting for men's rights. Because that's one of the things feminism does, right? It helps men. Well, many of my viewers have already guessed, so I'm going to fill you feminists in on a little secret. What I just did there was construct a straw man for comedic and educational purposes. For those of you who realize that personal experience is a bullshit form of argument, I hope you got a few chuckles. And for those of you who seem to think that your personal experience stories are legitimate arguments, well, you're just plain wrong. I hope you all learned something today. Now, this isn't to say that using personal experience or first-hand accounts should be ruled out in a discussion, but there is a correct way to use them and an incorrect way to do so. I would highly recommend the essay, "Thank God for the Atom Bomb" by Fussel. In this essay, he discusses the morality debate that revolved around dropping the 2 atomic bombs at the end of World War II. He made sound, logical arguments that many who morally opposed the use of atomic weapons were typically of the intellectual elite, such as ethical theorists or professors of contemporary history, while those with the best knowledge and understanding of what was happening on the front lines were typically the military marines and pilots who, with a few exceptions, never rose to scholastic affluence. By using the facts that revolve around this issue, Fussel was able to include personal accounts to add additional weight to his argument. One of his most resounding points was, in general, the principle is, the farther from the scene of horror, the easier the talk. So if you want to use personal experience as an argument, that's fine. I encourage you to do so, but make sure you do so correctly. Personal stories without reasoning, facts, and sound logic to supplement it is just that, a story. It's not an argument. If you wish to demonstrate to me that we live in a rape culture, I'll listen. But don't think that your story about how you were scared to walk down a dark alley at 1 a.m. is going to convince me. Use facts and statistics to demonstrate why this is evidence of rape culture. Show me how the situation would be different if there was no rape culture. Give me something more than, I had this really bad experience. If you want to prove to me that the wage gap exists, please tell me about your experience when you worked with a male employee of comparable skill and experience, but his dick added a few extra dollars to his paycheck. Show me with facts that this is happening throughout the workplace. Don't just say, I've experienced discrimination in the workplace, and I get paid thus. If you have something worth listening to, I'll listen and consider what you have to say. But if you just want to tell me a personal sob story, please stop right there. As a person, I have compassion for you, but as far as arguments go, I couldn't care less. We here at Peg Leg Films would like to thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, but most importantly, have a good night.